First up, I'd like to, this is Christchurch Methodist Mission Public Forum, welcome Jill Hawkey to talk about the launch of the campaign to raise awareness about older persons housing. Very good to see you again.
Kia ora. Tēnā koutou e hiuhi mai nei I tēnei rā. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today. So I'm here on behalf of the Christchurch Methodist Mission to present Doors to Dignity, a campaign focusing on one of the most pressing and under-recognised challenges facing Aotearoa, and that's ensuring that all older people are housed well. It's not just a housing issue, it's about all people ageing with dignity, equity, and the necessary support that they require. The Retirement Commission estimates that by 2048, 40% of retirees, so it's around 600,000 people, will be renters. Most will rely on New Zealand super, which was never designed to support renters. The result is that we'll have a growing cohort of older New Zealanders facing housing insecurity, financial stress, which, as we know, impacts on both physical and mental health. In just 5 years, the number of people aged over 65 on the government social housing register has more than doubled. That's more than any other age group. And we're seeing a growing number of older people in housing distress coming to the Methodist Mission in search of affordable housing. This is a systemic issue, and it's accelerating. The private sector is not filling the gap. Developers aren't building the accessible, affordable one-bedroom homes older people need, unless they're in retirement villages, which are financially out of reach for most renters. The rental market is ill-equipped to meet the needs of older tenants. This disproportionately affects Māori, Pacifica, women living alone, who face structural barriers to home ownership due to pay gaps, caregiving responsibilities and historical injustices. So without intervention, this is going to become a full-blown crisis. At the Methodist Mission, we've seen what is possible. Wesley Village offers over 70 affordable homes for older people, a shared living space for kaumātua Māori, and a community hub. The result is strong social bonds, improved well-being, reduced resilience on health and social services. It isn't just anecdotal. Research shows that community-based affordable housing, including papakainga, co-housing, multi-generational housing, improves health outcomes, reduces loneliness, and enhances access to services. Let me share you briefly about Sally's story. Sally received notice from her landlord. She spent weeks searching for a new home, facing long queues, unaffordable rents and poor quality housing. She ended up staying with friends for 10 weeks. Eventually, Sally, who's in her late 70s, found a home at Wesley Village. And today she says, everyone's included here. Everyone feels valued. I'm so pleased to be here. So the Methodist Mission is about to launch a 3-year campaign to draw attention to the emerging crisis for older renters. We're calling for leadership across political parties, across departments, across sectors. Specifically, we're looking for a long-term housing strategy for older people with cross-agency coordination and multi-party support. We're looking for ring-fenced funding for older persons' housing. And we're looking to local and central government to activate policy levers that increase affordable housing supply for older people. It's not just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. It's an investment in well-being, in equity, and future-proofing our communities. We're launching the campaign on October the 1st. It's the International Day of the Older Person, with a photographic exhibition by David Cook, who's a photo essayist from Massey University, and he was the artist in residence at the Christchurch Arts Centre last year. David worked with our tenants at Wesley Village, the tenants at Otautahi Community Housing Trust, and the Peterborough community to develop this exhibition. So look out for your invitation and do come along. What we're asking for you as council is that you explore what levers you've got that incentivise the building of 1 and 2 bedroom affordable and accessible homes for older people. Let's not wait for this crisis to deepen. Let's lead now with foresight, with compassion and courage. Kia ora koutou.
Thank you, Jill. That was very good. We're out of time, but is anyone one question? If anyone, Marcus, put your hand up first. Good, way go.
Thank you. Certainly a tsunami of problem coming ahead. Are you familiar with Abbeyfield homes?
Yes, and Abbeyfield is a good model for people who want to actually live collectively, but I know that they've also got a very long waiting list.
Yes, no, we have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the trouble you went to. Thanks, great. Okay, so now we've got Dogwatch Sanctuary Trust, and we've got Amelia and Bridget. You coming up too? Good. Talk about waiving registration fees for rescue dogs that are in temporary care. Welcome. Good to see you.
Kia ora koutou, thank you very much for having us. My name's Amelia Ryman. I'm the fundraising manager at Dogwatch Sanctuary Trust, and we also have Bridget Patterson with us here today, who's general manager. We are here to bring a little bit of awareness to our work, and then we've also got some suggestions to bring up later in our presentation. We really appreciate the opportunity to share Dogwatch's crucial work with you today and how we support Christchurch City as well as wider Canterbury. The purpose of this presentation is to show how Dogwatch supports Christchurch as a whole, assists Christchurch City Council Animal Services, and reduces pressure on council resources. Dogwatch is a local, Christchurch-based, independent and self-funded dog rescue. We've been operating for over 40 years, since 1982, and have rehomed thousands of dogs since opening. We intake dogs from Canterbury Council pounds, as well as private surrenders, with a large proportion of these dogs coming from the Christchurch City Council Animal Shelter. Many of these are dogs the council has been unable to rehome, including complex cases. Our mission is simple: rescue, rehabilitate, rehome. Every adoption from our centre includes desexing and vaccination, and our work is supported by over 100 volunteers alongside dedicated staff. Our community outreach program helps prevent dogs entering the pound system. We provide community desexing vouchers, dog food assistance, advice, rehoming support, and pet essentials to owners in need. Our behaviour advisors support adopters with training, helping dogs remain safe and well managed. We also educate our volunteers and adopters on responsible dog ownership, like lead use and secure fencing. This means fewer strays, fewer surrenders, and fewer animal management call-outs. In July this year, we partnered with local vets to run 2 vaccination clinics at Eastgate Mall car park. This was in response to a parvovirus outbreak in Christchurch, which directly affected dogs in our care and across the community. Nearly 300 dogs were vaccinated with free dog food, flea and worm treatment, and essentials such as collars and leads given out. Christchurch City Council Animal Management also supported the initiative by offering free microchipping at the events. We strongly believe in preventing problems with dog ownership before they arise and acting proactively. The vaccination drive also highlights the strong demand for affordable vet care, especially during the current cost of living crisis. We regularly intake dogs Christchurch City Council can't rehome, reducing the need for euthanasia. So far this year, we've already taken in 28 dogs from Christchurch City Council alone. Every Dogwatch adoption includes desexing, vaccination and microchipping, preventing unwanted litters and disease spread. We conduct property checks with our adopters to ensure homes are secure, reducing escapes and future call-outs. We confirm home ownership or landlord consent, lowering the risk of abandonment or dumped dogs. In short, we reduce impounds, prevent repeat problems, and improve public safety, directly supporting the council and the wider community. Currently, we do this at no cost to Christchurch City Council or the community. On the basis of this, we have a few suggestions of how Christchurch City Council can support Dogwatch and offer some reciprocity. We propose council waives dog registration fees for dogs under Dogwatch's care or at other Christchurch rescues. Owners will still register and pay registration fees once they adopt from us. We also propose the Christchurch City Council Animal Shelter includes desexing in every adoption, adjusting their fee to cover costs, as is already done in Auckland and the Waikato. This would significantly reduce dog overpopulation and impounding. Finally, we propose Animal Services offer subsidised desexing vouchers to owners reclaiming dogs, funded through a small portion of registration revenue. These are small, affordable shifts with big prevention benefits, and we feel the public would support as good use of dog registration funds. If these actions are adopted, the benefits are clear. For council, this would result in fewer impounds, lower enforcement costs, and less pressure on animal management. Desexing Christchurch City Council shelter dogs in particular would reduce dog overpopulation long term. For animal rescues, waiving registration fees would offer fair recognition of our role and reduce overhead costs. And for the community, the benefit would be fewer unwanted puppies, healthier dogs, and safer streets and public spaces. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you very much, and you have used time, but Pauline has got a burning question.
I've got a very quick question, thank you. Look, if we were to, and these are really good points, and I really support the desexing idea because that will help a lot. How many numbers would we be talking about, do you think?
In terms of from animal management?
Yes.
Excuse me, you'd probably have to discuss that with them. I know that last year they did around 60 to 70 adoptions from their shelter. Obviously, dogs being reclaimed, I would say, is probably a higher number. But it's not huge numbers that we're talking. And then it has a long-term benefit in reducing costs.
Just thinking about the cost and where we'd get that from. And would you support perhaps loading it onto the dog registration fee, like a small amount?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for the dogs being reclaimed, the desexing fee there could be on registration fees. We would suggest probably for their adoptions, folding that into their adoption fee. Our adoption fee is $4.20. That covers desexing, vaccination, all those bits and pieces.
Yeah, I was more thinking like spreading the cost of those dogs across all the dog registration. There's 45,000.
Certainly. Yeah, it would just be up to Animal Services how they budget that.
Consult on that, but it might be a way to do it. Well, thanks so much for coming in. Beautiful pictures.
Thank you. Yes, they're beautiful dogs and puppies, aren't they?
Thank you very much. Good, very good to see you again. Good on you.
Will do.
Okay. So now we've got Simon Fenwick, who will talk us about outdoor dining on Tramway Lane. Welcome, Simon.
Hey, so my name's Simon. I'm a designer, landscape architect and architectural designer. Look, I've been in Christchurch since 1991 and, you know, been through different financial crises and, of course, the earthquakes. But what's amazing about the time we're in now is Christchurch is really coming into its own as New Zealand's best city. And this little project is just so we don't sit on our laurels and sit back and relax. It's continuous improvement. Now, all of you know that people make places, and we've got some great places going on in Christchurch with the new strip riverside development, but with the stadium opening up on the east side, we've got a huge influx of people through accommodation, events, and concerts, and all over on that east side, which is quite a long way from Riverside. So if we want to continue creating attractions and places for people, one of the ways other cities have done it, like in this picture here of Melbourne, So I'll click through, is just to develop laneways and do public-private partnerships with laneways and really try to activate them. So which button do I push to go to the next one? Ding, ding, ding. Oh, yeah. Okay, so these are another couple of pictures of how laneways can be activated. The laneway we're talking about is Tramway Lane, which is on Hereford Street, just close to Manchester Street, goes between Hereford and Worcester. Part of it is used for the tram to get to its maintenance shelter, maintenance workshop. But the end that we're talking about is actually close to Hereford, across the road from City Fitness, if you know where that is. So I just want to go to the next slide. So there's some more examples of what activated places. Now with these places you can see that it's people. I mean, it's actually a grungy dump of a lane, but it's all the sides have been activated through public-private partnerships, and there's people buzzing. Okay, next one. Yep, you don't even need a huge space on the side for tables and chairs. Yep, next one. Yeah, yes. Okay, so here we go. I don't know if we can zoom in a little bit on, yeah, so if you look at the photos down the bottom, yeah, just like the photos we saw, tons of people, all happy and activated. Not. So what we've got is a little cafe developed by our client on the left, and we've got a 6 metre wide laneway that we could activate. This is one of the Dirty 30 buildings on the right, I think, but so that's a derelict building, but we're talking about the cafe on the left. Okay, next one. Yep, so this is a plan, but we'll actually go through to the next image, if that's okay. All right, so this is half the laneway activated with Corten steel planters, some retractable awnings, and all movable furniture. Some of the paving redone with a central hidden drain, and still vehicle access one way down on the right side. If we go over to the next, I think there was one more. Oh, okay, that one needs to be turned. Oh, yeah. Okay. So there you go. You can see there's still plenty of vehicle access, whether it's temporary or one-way or bollard controlled on the right. The access to the tram workshops is actually further down the back, and the tramway lane, the tramway tracks obviously don't come down here. So in short, you know, continuing to improve and create attractions on the east side of the city centre, there's the opportunity for a public-private partnership here, and we could rent, if the council will be willing to rent some space to the cafe owner. That's it.
Okay.
Any questions?
Timothy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Look, this image, you know, like it seems kind of upmarket, because I've been to the Melbourne ones and I've been to New York, and they are literally just really simple tables and chairs they put out in a strip, and it works. This one there, they've got cushions and all that, which is lovely, but I'm just thinking the private, we at times we still kind of do a wee bit too much, the operators, because I'd love to see the derelict, the Dirty 30, because if we offer this, hopefully those sides of the buildings would open onto the tramway.
Well, that's the key thing, is if they can open up. I mean, you're saying it's, if I'd shown grungy buildings, then there might be grungy furniture. There could be criticism the other way.
Yeah.
This is only an indication of how traffic management and the amount of space and the ability for service vehicles to go.
I love the vision. It's really reasonable.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Simon, and I'm sure something will quietly progress.
Thank you.
Peter here on behalf of Wild Capture Research. You serious? Morning.
Kia ora. Kia ora, Mayor and councillors. It's a privilege to be here this morning and to be able to present to council. I'm based in Otatahi as an ecologist and a researcher, and my primary concern is just the apparent lack of an index or of the availability of Christchurch City Council reports relating to biodiversity and ecological matters within the Christchurch City region. I've just struggled over the last 6 months to get a basic index of reports that have been compiled by the council. The council ornithologist has advised me that he's written 300 reports in the last 30 years, and I'd emailed him in May. He said he would have a go at compiling a list of the reports in the next financial year, but it's still in progress. He subsequently sent me an email saying that he would like to have increased funding to cover the staff time for him to put that report together for me, or that basic index. I've also received a reply from the City Council that to get an index of biodiversity or ecological reports would cost me between $1,200 and $6,000. So it was considered to be impractical for that information to be provided. I guess I feel a sort of certain level of alienation. I'm very passionate about Otatahi and the city's biodiversity. I've lived here all my life. I've actually even written a City Council report in 1990, but I can't find that on any index either. So there are some basic summary reports available, but I really want to delve deeper than that and look at the full suite of reports that have been written, and I do acknowledge that not all, for one reason or another, may be publicly available, and there could be caveats on some of them. But it's just about having, I guess, a sort of catalogue system, and sort of feel a bit sort of perplexed by it. I know the Christchurch City Council does have a very accomplished team of ecologists working here, and as a resident and ratepayer, I'd like to see a lot more publicity and transparency about the work that they do. I know there's a herpetologist, there's an ornithologist, a botanist, there's a whole team of people. But I guess a lot of the public just aren't really aware of the work that they're doing, and it would be good just to have a lot more information out in the open. Last year I noticed large amounts of weed being dredged out of the Apawaho River, and there were large amounts of native fish in the weed that was dumped on the bank. I phoned the City Council to talk to a freshwater ecologist, but the receptionists advised me that the City Council didn't have a freshwater ecologist. So 2 weeks later, I actually did find out the City Council did have a freshwater ecologist, and I arranged to meet with her just to discuss my concerns over this issue. Unfortunately, she didn't attend that meeting, but we did have a subsequent Zoom meeting, which was quite productive. And she said she would send me a follow-up report that I'm still waiting for, but hopefully that's in progress. For me, it's just a question of having publicly available information. Banks Peninsula is the global stronghold for the spotted shag, and my understanding is from research done by a City Council ornithologist that the species has gone under an 85% decline in the last 30 years, with population halving in the last 5 years. I consider this to be an issue of national interest for seabird conservation, and again, it would be nice to see the City Council disseminating that information to the public more. I also research a critically endangered bird, the Mātuku haruipo, in Canterbury for Environment Canterbury, and I would like to work a lot more with the City Council on researching and managing that species. But that's basically just the thrust of it, really, is just having an index of reports, and I know that the council, to its credit, actually has done a lot of reports, and I know Andrew Crossland's a very passionate ornithologist and very accomplished, and he has written over 300 reports, so it is somewhat frustrating that I can't see the basic titles of all those reports that have been written. I actually started bird watching with Andrew Crossland in 1985 at the Avon Heathcote Estuary, and we jointly did bird counts around the Bromley oxidation ponds. At the age of 15, we were lucky enough to actually see a new species of wading bird for New Zealand. We go back a long way, but to me, it's just more a thing of frustration, really, and it comes down to that old thing that Noam Chomsky said: you just don't know what you don't know.
Okay, so we've got time for one question. Celeste, please.
Thanks for coming in, and it's always good to hear about sort of areas where we can improve. I know we're still waiting on the biodiversity strategy update. I actually thought we were going to get that as part of the annual plan, so we're still waiting for it. Do we know when that's planning on coming back to us? And as part of that, can we pick up on those points? Because I think that would be a good opportunity to give visibility, and also we could probably look at updating. I think there's some work going on with the website to provide information through that. So if we can link in all the work that's happening behind the scenes, more public facing, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. And I've asked the CE to see how we can respond or get through the tape.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank
Good
you.
on you, mate. Thanks for coming in. Okay, Susan here to talk about rates and cost savings, please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I did send a submission in yesterday and I hope everyone received it. Good. Yes, so talking about very serious matters, a major funding by New Zealand and this council indirectly of the United Nations emissions trading, etc., Paris Agreement commitments, astronomical figures, and the whole question is they're completely unaffordable. I think I've proven that in my submission. Brian Leyland, electoral engineer par excellence, has said that New Zealand is already spending $4 billion a year on all climate matters, including taxes on fuel, etc., etc. All of this goes back to the 8.5 RCP or RCP 8.5 requirements by which are the extreme level with a 1% probability, which all councils, it seems, in government have been locked into by the Ministry for Environment. These are unrealistic, and the result is we have totally unaffordable expenses. Michael Kelly, the illustrious engineer from Cambridge, who is a New Zealander, has estimated that New Zealand would have to pay $660 billion to install all the infrastructure required, and $330,000 per household by 2050. All of this is based on a climate scam, which has been proven to be based on exaggerated figures. Oxfam uncovered a major loss of $41 billion by the World Bank, where this money had disappeared into thin air. It was unaccounted for. One would wonder if any of our billions had also gone into that and disappeared into who knows whose bank accounts. It seems as if the belief in the climate change narrative has become almost cult-like. It threatens Armageddon. Nobody can question it. It demands enormous amount of cash, as cults do. Managed retreat, I've also mentioned, because the council had a report done, which I think it was by Tonkin and Taylor, which said that in 100 years the sea level would rise 1.4 metres. Well, a US report for the Ministry of Energy has just come out in July saying it's 8 inches, and also William DeLonghi in his report to the Otaki Kapiti Coast said it's 15 centimetres per 100 years. So therefore I'm suggesting that if the council enforces managed retreat on the figures of 1.4 metres, as in the report, you'll be subject to litigation. A note that the Mayor said council debt plus the business branch collectively owe $5 billion. I'm just wondering what the percentage of rates interest costs are. Obviously, nobody wants to be paying interest indefinitely, and to me it's a pretty cynical exercise on the citizens of Christchurch for council staff to be running up more and more debt, and planning also to spend another $1 billion by 2034. So yes, there's also been a very significant leak which came out from the Ministry for the Environment and MFAT, which said they're suggesting to government, and been doing so for the last year, for New Zealand to spend billions and send it to other countries to fulfil our decarbonisation, because they're saying we're running a year behind. So they say it'll be only in the low billions. Well, we can't afford any of those billions. They're just disappearing into a black hole. And I'd say to this council, dump the climate spend completely. I note that in the financial report, the coastal adaptation alone will cost up to 3.6 million annually. All of these, completely unnecessary. I'd like to say also with the CO2, I mentioned that the Mayor's plan for petrol head activities align with the reality, which is the CO2 levels are historically low. If they go down to 150 parts per million, all life on Earth stops. In actual fact, by burning fossil fuels, we've actually raised it slightly to less dangerous levels. Normally, it would be about 2,000 parts per million.
How are you getting on there, Susan? You got far to go?
Yes, I think sort of covered all the points I'd made short notes about, so I'd welcome any questions.
Yes, I'm sorry you've used up all your time, but everyone has taken on board what you've said, and they've got the submission you sent in. So thank you very much for making the effort to come in and see us.
Yes, I feel it's sort of honour bound to do this research, and as being retired, we have more time than the workers do.
Okay, thank you very much. Good on you. Good on you. Okay, so Drusilla, we'll talk about visitor centres, please.
Kia ora.
Good morning.
I'll sit. Oh, your pen. Good. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Right. Kia ora, people. Thank you for hearing me. I am Green Moon Studios at outlook.com, but I plan to become a trust to promote events, toy arcade and visitor centre. We've actually been going 20 years, but I've been doing construction. So my photocopying bill was 45,000, got 100 grand tied up in stock. I've given out 18,000 to help different community groups over since 2014. Okay, Christmas parades, a lot. We need a new community event and visitor centre in Christchurch. Number one, the old, I can't say it. I can't get my head round. I'll just show you the picture. I get tongue-tied. You know that building? Yep. You've seen it? Seen it? Seen it? Well, at the moment, there's 3 rooms there for 85,000, and that would make a great visitor centre. The only trouble is to make it viable. I actually did look at that building, that was about 1990, and it used to have a coach outside. Then you had the visitor centre and the post office, which they did, but the rent for that was 195,000 a year. The art centre, that was about 214, and then that closed. Now, the other day when I was in Kaipoi talking to the Kaipoi people in their visitor centre, one of the girls was actually working from there. Mr Rainbird, I was involved with Mr Rainbird, but I came in at the later end. My son was actually going to set up the bar. There's 20 staff, but they made some silly mistakes, and there was things out of Mr. Rainbird's control that he could not control, like somebody embezzling money overseas and they couldn't bring their money in. So there's all those things. I lost money, my son lost money, but what I noticed the biggest problem was communication. Nobody even knew that I was even an investor at the end. You know, and I put a lot of work into it. I actually had put 8 years of all my work into 8 weeks, did a whole lot of boxes so that when people came in they could see this display, exactly like they do at Littleton. They put it in the cupboard and I never got it back. You know, and so, no, that just made me really angry. I went to Dunedin. I went there to a writer's workshop with Pip Hall. That was in 2023. I walked 4 hours to get one side of town to the other because all the roadworks, to go and look at the visitor centre. They had 3 staff, and that was eyesight. The problem with eyesight is quite expensive. I feel we need, because it's becoming unviable, it needs to be more an event. The thing about if we had this facility, I'm looking at 4 others. It doesn't just have to be this one. But you've got to make it viable, like have a room that they can rent out so they've got some income. I'm not going to tell you my age, but 30, 40 years ago, you would turn around and just do a sign, go to the council, you'd have somebody from the council, somebody else from Environment Canterbury. That is what needs to happen. I will be coming back to you after the elections to bring this up again. I did have done my figures just to employ full-time if it was on a commercial basis, and it was in that building with myself doing 10 hours plus 2 staff being paid full-time, $350,000 to run it on a year. I did have a really great conversation with a lady who runs a centre outside Ashburton yesterday, and theirs is done on a commercial, using volunteers. I'm now going to try and jack up to go to Littleton. But I've done all the running around. I rang the Minister of Tourism. I tried to get hold of Eyesight. You know, and I've decided, no, this is the way we need to go. It needs to have the council on board. I will be presenting in front of Environment Canterbury as well. And on Friday, I went and had a look at the Canterbury's Open Day. Because of my mapping system, I'm looking into getting into data health. And I went and had a look at the animation studio. And because that is going to be the amount of young people doing gaming. And what I thought of with the event centre, what we could have it like, it has events, it concentrates, people can, the older community who do not do IT like me, they still need to come and have one-to-one engagement. But then we could also have it that it was a training thing as well. I also did ring and talk to a caseworker at WINS. So I've done all the running around, and this is just to keep you informed. And I will be back after the elections. And best of luck, and hope you all get in.
Thank you very much. Good, always good to see you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, is Ian here, please, talk about using rates to mitigate climate change?
Well, thank you very much for the chance to talk to you again. This is probably the 3rd time I've presented to many of you. I'm not going to go through all my slides, you've got them, but can I ask you to go to slide 5, please? These are the oldest temperature records in the world. They commenced soon after the thermometer was invented. They commenced in 1659 in the southern part of England, central England, and ironically, that's where the Industrial Revolution started. So we've got temperature records for nearly 100 years prior to the start of the Industrial Revolution. And of course, the Industrial Revolution slowly increased. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see the overlaid carbon emissions that man has added, and you'll see it's made absolutely no difference to the rise in temperature. Now, my challenge to you is if you go and spend money on mitigating temperature increase, if we've made no difference with a 371,500% exponential increase in CO2, what effect do you think you're going to have by trying to reduce emissions when the two are totally uncorrelated, or they're uncorrelated, yeah. So the council represents the people of the city, and you are charged as councillors to seek justice and to run the council's affairs so that the oppressed, the fatherless, and the widows are considered in your decisions. This approach is foundational to Western civilization. I challenge you to scrutinise my information and not to follow an ideological agenda when taxing constituents. I do give public talks on this. My longest presentation is 2 hours, and I access people who invented the satellite that goes around the planet every day recording the Earth's temperature since 1979. And I also access the man who consulted to the American government, who just helped them to design the laser that shoots down satellites and missiles. So he knows a lot about the atmosphere. So I'm prepared to share more information, but I appreciate the brevity of time that you must allow each representative who comes along to talk. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Has anyone got any questions of it? Timothy, please. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in. I do remember the last time. For me, representing in my ward, the Kashmir Hills, so the Port Hills of large, from say our ward or our community board from Godley Head through to Kennedy's Bush, basically. The concern there is the dry periods. So I'm kind of more interested in reducing pollution, because it's kind of you can argue temperature whatever you want, but it's really looking at pollution, because the concern there is fires, etc. So I think reducing rubbish should be done anyway, irrelevant of the arguments. So,
100%.
Yeah. Yep.
Pollution and climate change and temperature increase are not related.
Yep. Yep.
We should all be dealing with pollution.
Cool. Thank you very much. Cheers.
And Melanie, please.
Oh, thank you. Look, I was just wondering, I've got two questions. What software you use to model that linear line to that graph of the temperature, and just what the R value is?
Yeah. Well, good. I've drawn that by hand, but I suggest Excel would give you that figure. And if you want to change it by a tiny bit, it makes no difference to the emphasis that comes out of analysing that graph. Number two, I can do an R squared or an R value if you want, but it's going to tell you, you can see just looking at that, the correlation is zero between the two. So my challenge to you is, if you're going to reduce emissions, it's going to make zero difference to that graph.
Okay. All right, no more questions. Thank you very much for coming in, mate.
Thank
Always
you.
good. Always good.
Right.
Okay, David there, talk about strategy, please, and ratepayers task force.
Is there any chance of getting some water, Mr. Mayor? I've got a bit of a throat, which might impact this presentation. Would that be possible? And I hope the clock is not ticking while I wait for that. That would be great.
Too late.
Thank you so much. Assisting me today is Liz McFarlane-McKenzie, and we have something exciting to reveal, and she's going to assist me at the appropriate time. But in the meantime, I think you've had one of these before, Mr. Mayor. You're going to get another one.
Okay. Prostrate.
Right, thank you very much. I do apologise. I normally have a presentation for you, but for some reason several pages are missing. So what I will do is reassure you that you'll get a copy later. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity to present what I trust you will recognise as a momentous opportunity for the future of Christchurch's ratepayers. For those that don't know me on live stream, my name is David Lynch, and I serve as the principal of Momentous Public Relations, a consultancy dedicated to advancing the purposeful, transparent and effective communications across New Zealand's civic and commercial landscape. Whether advising on policy positioning, facilitating dialogue between sectors, or crafting communications that resonate with diverse audience, my focus has always been on fostering trust, clarity and impact, which you'll see later on. On the 28th of August, at a mayoral debate attended by Mayor yourself and Sarah Templeton, I asked the question of you both, if re-elected, would you commit to meeting with a ratepayer-initiated task force to consider practical reform measures with a strong focus on reducing rates? And both of you didn't hesitate. Without knowing any detail, thank you for that. The ratepayer-initiated task force is now being formed following extensive engagement by my company, Momentous PR, with individuals, ratepayers, residents groups, industry, bodies and commercial stakeholders. Its establishment reflects Christchurch's increasing call for meaningful reform and greater accountability in civic leadership. Here's some background. As mentioned over the past 2 months, in direct response to this engagement, Momentous PR has gathered compelling insights that point to a growing appetite for practical reform and more accountable leadership across Christchurch. In response, Momentous PR has secured the support of several individuals who have agreed to assist in the creation of a ratepayer-initiated task force. And over the next 5 years, this task force will pursue a series of initiatives aimed at restoring the balance between what council delivers and what residents can afford. This is not about politics. It's about progress. It's about transparency. It's about accountability. And it's definitely about people in Christchurch. The individuals that are assisting me have asked for confidentiality. Several members hold positions or affiliations that could be compromised by premature disclosure. The task force credibility depends on its ability to operate free from undue influence of public pressure during the formative stages. And finally, the campaign is designed to evaluate and promote issues, not individuals. And to preserve this, it is essential that we protect this in the interim. This initiative is not about opposition, it's about proposition. It's about restoring trust, transparency, and ensuring that Christchurch's civic future is shaped by those who live, work, and invest here. To achieve this, I am pleased to announce the launch today of Rate Watch Christchurch with the tagline, making sure council delivers what residents can afford. For those of us working to establish Rate Watch, the original intention was to launch formally in the new year. However, after a series of emerging issues in the lead up to the election, we've brought this forward. Here are a couple of concerns and why we're here. The cave rock lighting. The process behind the report recently considered by the Community Board raises serious concerns about the procedural integrity and democratic accountability by excluding 84% of the submissions, including the most supported one to do nothing. Fortunately, the Community Board listened and the matter was understood, but still they wish to engage with the person behind the lighting with the view of changing it. And I would encourage you, Mr. Mayor, and the CEO, as per the request, we would welcome the opportunity of working with you to avoid having to turn to lawyers in respect of that. Wings to Wheels. The revelation that Christchurch ratepayers have already been billed about $5 million for consultation associated with reports on Wings and Wheels and the route before a single metre of the project has been built raises profound concerns about accountability, financial stewardship by this council. Ratepayers deserve transparency over how such extraordinary sums could be could be incurred, and the situation suggests not only inefficiencies, but also a troubling disregard for fiscal responsibility, especially at a time when residents face ongoing cost of living pressure and rising council rates. The absence of a clear explanation, coupled with the failure to hold decision makers to account, risks eroding public confidence in council process. If consultation alone consumes millions, one must question what will the final cost of the cycleway eventually end up being.
David, how are things coming along? I've got two questions that I'll let, but
Thank you. I'll just sum up, and I have about 1 minute. Lastly, I was very inspired at the mayoral debate held by the press. There was no question that the audience responded enthusiastically to Councillor Templeton's presentation. It was polished, it was confident, and it was well delivered. Yet in my experience, moments like these, it's easy for style to eclipse substance. Mayor Major, you have acknowledged that you don't possess the same ability to communicate as Councillor Templeton, and that is to be commended. There are 2 points that you both raised that I would touch on. Firstly, Mr. Mayor, your decision to notify the government of your intent to return funding allocated to certain Christchurch projects on the grounds that the money could be better directed to cyclone-affected communities in the North Island was a principled act of leadership. It reflected integrity and sound judgment. It's unfortunate the significance of this gesture wasn't more clearly conveyed by you during the debate. It warranted far greater recognition in my experience, and I want to express the sincere appreciation of the people I've spoken to who understood what you were trying to do. Councillor Templeton, I admire your enthusiasm for cycleways, and as you know, I've started after a 40-year absence. But a reference, I think, to manufactured opposition or words to the offence to the cycleway was concerning. As I said, as a cyclist myself, has worked professionally with those individuals and groups who hold genuine, well-founded concerns about the rollout. I found the remark dismissive and offensive.
You're not here to criticise individual councillors.
Okay. In conclusion, thank you for listening.
Yep.
For those of you that are re-elected, we hope that you will recognise this is a positive opportunity. And I would like to thank you all in the time that you've been here and for your services, and for, at times, no doubt, the last thing you would like to see at a public forum is momentous public relations. But
thank you, David. Oh, I've got the 2 people that wanted to ask questions. Tyler, please.
Kia ora, David. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
My ears are not gone yet.
Sweet. In Riccarton, I started up a citizens' assembly called the Riccarton Collective, which is quite similar to this, which leads me to my question is, what are the age groups that are the individuals that you've been working with?
Well, look, over the last 30 years, I've worked with people like Grey Power right through to young folks. This is very early stages, but right now, the grouping of people that we've consulted would probably be sort of 18, anything up to 90. In fact, on the weekend, we sent a team down to Sumner just to consult about 200 people over the issue with the unfortunate lighting. And there was a mix of people, but you know, that's, all ages.
Cool. Thank you. And Sarah, please, and then we'll move on.
Thanks so much for that, David. I'm just wondering, in the past, you've presented us a few times on transparency at council.
Yes.
And the need for transparency so that you can build trust and confidence. And I'm just wondering how you'll apply that to your new Rate Watch group.
Oh, absolutely. Well, look, as I've said at this stage, there's reasons why I'm not in a position to disclose the people that we're using in the early stages of establishing it. But the obviously going forward, there will be, I would expect, a board appointed once the funding is determined, and that will certainly be a board that's very transparent. It would have to be, because it would be wanting to engage with councillors and if you're the mayor, obviously to meet with you and have discussions.
Thank you.
But in the initial stages, the confidentiality with the people involved in the steering committee to establish it, I have to respect that. I hope you understand.
Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you, David. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, so we now got Norman, who will talk about derelict buildings, please.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and councillors. Now, public speak is not my forte, so please bear with me. I'm here today to ask the council to urgently review and strengthen its rules enforcement relating to the derelict and long-term vacant buildings across the city. Background and concerns. Several properties in Christchurch have been left derelict and vacant for long periods. These sites create public safety risks, unstable structures, fire risk, health hazard, rubbish, vermin, standing water, attract antisocial behaviour and harm neighbourhood amenities and property values. They also limit the opportunities for productive reuse or development in a city that needs housing and housing intensification. The actual property I have of concern is 361A Pages Road. I think you have a picture of that, yes? Which has been derelict since the 2011 Christchurch earthquake. At the time, this property has been used by squatters as a drug sales point, a dumping ground for other people's rubbish. It has been fired many times and has had long periods of water leaks and rats. Should this property have been addressed earlier, it would not have needed the expense of the fire brigade on multiple occasions. And after the last fire, the council arranged to have this property fenced off and a net put over the building. This net put over the building stops the tin blowing away, but it doesn't stop the ash and the other pieces of debris, smaller debris, flying away. The current presentation of this building makes it difficult for me to sell my property, and it is an eyesore that turns potential buyers off. Friends and people I know on a daily basis ask what is happening with this property. I have to say I must trust our council to do the right thing. I request the council consider and implement a package of measures, including but not limited to creating a public register of long-term vacant and derelict properties with owner contact details and remediation status, introduce minimum maintenance and security standards for vacant buildings, boarding, fencing, pest control with clear timelines for compliance, strengthen enforcement powers and reduce time frames for issuing notices under the Building Act of 2004 and relevant local bylaws, including accelerated powers to make safe, secure or demolish dangerous buildings, apply financial pressures and penalties, escalating infringement fees, and if appropriate, a vacant property levy or targeted rate to incentivize reuse of these sites. Require owners of high-risk vacant properties to post a bond or financial guarantee to cover emergency remediation or demolition costs if the owner fails to act. Clarify and streamline the process for council to pursue a compulsory acquisition, enforced sale where owners abandon properties or fail to comply. To improve public reporting and transparency on online portal or reporting derelict sites, periodic public reporting on enforcement actions and outcomes. To prioritise enabling repairs and reuse by facilitated expedited consents for safe refurbishment where appropriate, to undertake public consultation and impact status and analysis and report back to with recommended policy or bylaw changes and implementation timetable. Please consider this review in context with relevant legislation, the Building Act of 2004, the Resource Management Act of 1991 and the Local Government Acts of 2002 and Christchurch's district planning policies that affect building safety. Now, the last contact I've had with the council was with Matt Blakemore, and he said the property at flat 1, 361 Pages Road, Christchurch, the owner was currently overseas and due back at the end of the month. They will assess the building and the options then. The options for the notice issued are to provide the Christchurch City Council with a detailed plan on how they intend to abate the danger and impose with this building or demolish the building. And they had until the 13th of August to do this. I have since emailed Matt Blakemore and he has not replied to that email directly to me.
Okay, thank you. So we've got time for one question. Celeste had a hand up, so you go for it, mate.
Thank you. That was a really good presentation. You make some really good points that would be good to pick up on. My understanding is that we've got a report coming back in February, is that right? So there is a report coming back to council. I know it won't address your specific issue, but there will be more information on looking at some of those tools because we're doing some work at the moment to explore many of those things you touched on. So thank you so much. And also, can we just pick up on the point that we haven't had a response to that particular inquiry? Thank you. We'll make sure you get some information. So thanks so much.
For coming in with your first public speaking role. You did a very good job.
It was rather difficult. Thank you very much.
Thank you, mate. Good on you. Okay.
Thank you.
Jason, please.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I just clarify that the staff have provided a response, but it hasn't come from Matt, but it has come from staff, so I just wanted people to be aware of that. But there's still questions about the response that need to be addressed, but I just want to make sure that people just
aware.
correct what was.
Thank you for letting me know. Yep. Okay, Jason. Petition regarding the Grassmere